Hey, it's Kevin and Fred. Do you have a referral for us here in Phoenix? There are 30,000 agents here that you could send them to. Why us? Well, for one thing, we'll keep you updated and you'll never have to track down your commission.
We'll also make you look really good to your client. And best of all, it helps us keep all this content free. So go to kevinandfred.com/referral to make the introduction. We'll take great care of them.
All right, Next Level Podcast listeners, we're back. And today I am joined, wow, I messed that up. Apparently your last name, Chris, threw me off. I am joined by my buddy, Chris Jones out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you? I'm in your head.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So first of all, thanks a lot for joining us today. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Out of your schedule. You and I have had the chance to talk a handful of times over the last year or so as we've done some stuff with our Facebook group, Next Level Agents, and some of the stuff that you guys over at Guerilla Realty are doing with your software and all of the training that you're putting out for agents, which I think is some really cool stuff. So thought it'd be cool if we just kind of slowed down this time and instead of you just teaching, giving away tools, learn a little bit more about your story, man, because I don't think that everybody realizes your background. A lot of people see, a lot of agents and loan officers out there see someone like yourself who is providing value and creating tools for agents, don't know that you actually came up through the ranks as an agent yourself and built a team and all that good stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to highlight that and talk a little bit about your successes and of course losses and lessons along the way as a real estate agent too.
Yeah, cool. So thanks for having me. It is cool that I had to do zero prep for this conversation. I just had to roll out of bed, put some crap in my hair, and I'm ready to go. No slide, no PowerPoint presentation or anything like that. So I got into real estate in 2005, when a lot of people got into real estate. Got in through my dad, who, I don't know how far you want to go back. My dad actually, when I was a kid, he always owned automotive repair shops. And that's one of those businesses that you could do perfectly, like you could execute flawlessly. And at the end of the day, all of your customers still hate you, right? Because they're pissed that their car's broke and they're pissed that you charged them money to fix it. And so I think I wasn't as aware of this when I was a kid. I was probably a teenager by the time he started thinking about getting out. But I guess around 2001, 2002, it was just taking its toll on him and just it's an emotionally draining job. And he had a buddy that recruited him to real estate. I know that you're big on recruiting. As somebody just like yourself recruited him to real estate. He went through real estate school, and while he was doing that, he's somebody that does everything to the nth degree. You guys can look him up. He's actually written some books on real estate. His name is Matt Jones, and he does everything to the nth degree. So while he was going through real estate, he was also reading 15, 20 books during that 6-week process or whatever. He was listening to all these audiobooks. I remember riding in the car with him, and everyone was like, "Shh, be quiet. He's listening to audiobooks."
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so he's doing everything. And so at the time, I don't know if anybody can remember this far back, but everything was down to sphere of influence. So it was all about farming your neighborhoods. And I remember we read one book that was you need to have 100 people in your sphere that you're staying in touch with regularly. And he was like, okay, if 100 is good, then 300 is probably gonna be better. So he did 300. And then they were do postcards, and you need to do postcards to 250 properties. Okay, if they're gonna do 250, I'm gonna do 1,000, right? So he's doing everything to the nth degree, and he wants to make sure that when he finally gets his license in the mail, that he's already got customers lined up and he's ready to kill it. And he's been a business owner for a long time. He's an entrepreneur at heart. And so he gets into real estate, and his first 6 months, he thinks he's going to crush it, right? He's used to making, probably $150,000, $200,000 a year. And he gets into real estate and he falls flat on his face. He said at the time he was on pace to make about $30K that year. And, so he started thinking, maybe I made a big mistake. And before he just decided to, exit this whole experiment, he said he took a day, and I actually remember this, took a day by himself. I think he drove down to the beach or something and thought, hey, look, if I'm going to fail, I want to fail on my own terms. So rather than doing what all the experts are going to say, or, all the experts are telling me to do, I'm going to do what I was doing back in the automotive repair business to capture new leads and to grow my business. And at the time, that was just building a basic website, putting up some really effective Google AdWords ads and making sure that there was some kind of lead capture mechanism. So I don't know if you remember back in 2005, everybody's real estate website was just to like deliver listings, deliver information, deliver whatever. And he was like, I'm going to flip that around. I'm going to start capturing information. So if you want something from me, I need your name and phone number at least so I can follow up with you. Right. And like overnight after he started doing that, his business exploded. He ended up growing a big team. And that's when I got into real estate with him. And so I was on that wild ride, helped him grow the team. We did that whole thing and, did tons and tons of production and it's really lucrative. And I love that side of it. And then we started having requests from people of, hey, can you show me how to grow the way that you did? Right. So I think some of the stats just to share with people is grew a team of 120 agents.
Whoa.
Here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We're actually bigger than the local Keller Williams, which was an impressive feat at the time, and listed over 100 houses at our peak year. And then had tons of buyers agents that were working all the. I think at our peak we were generating something ridiculous, like 500 to 700 leads per month to feed all these agents.
Wow.
And making a ton of money. And of course, that basically like full steam ahead into 2009 when the bottom fell out.
Right.
And that at that time, we kind of decided, okay, are we gonna like? It was kind of a fork in the road. But before that, we were real estate on the left, software business on the right. So software business came about because people said, hey, how can we build a business like you? And he said, well, look, you got to have a good website. You got to have good marketing strategies. And, I'll show you how. What you find out is you can show people all day long. But most people can't build a website. I mean, heck, it's 2019. I can hardly build a website on my own, right? You build websites, Kevin?
Not a chance, man. I leave that to the professionals.
Yeah, exactly. And so you could tell people all day long. My dad just happened to have that background where he could build a basic enough website to get it done. You could tell people all day long, it doesn't really help them. And so he said, maybe there's an opportunity here. Maybe instead of telling people how to build websites, maybe we just build a website and sell it to them. Right. And so he started licensing these. And this is where like the germ of the idea of running a software company came from. And so at the time it was known as Favorite Agent. Don't know if anybody on this call's old enough to remember back then. And he grew a big audience working with people like who's the ProQuest guy? Gary. I feel like a jerk not remembering his last name. We used to be good friends. Anyway, ProQuest Technologies partnered with some of these guys, built a huge audience, and started selling websites basically. And so we, like I said, full steam ahead into 2009. Bottom fell out and had a choice to make. Are we going to do software? We're going to do real estate because it's really hard to do both right now. While nobody's buying houses and most of the agents therefore aren't buying software. And around this time, my dad basically said, let's decide what we're going to do. And around that time, I took over the software business. He continued to do real estate for a little while until he retired. Now he runs a bicycle shop down in Wilmington, North Carolina, living the dream. It was kind of always like his in-game plan was to run a bicycle shop. It's one of his dreams when he was a kid. So he's down in Wilmington, North Carolina doing that. And I'm running a software business. Now it's a different software business, totally different entity. But the germ of the idea started with him.
Gotcha.
That gives you context.
Yeah. So, it's funny. I recently had a guy on the show. His name's Tyler Smith, CEO and founder of SkySlope. And what happens a lot with situations like yourself and Tyler and many others is this thing starts out as an idea for themselves. And then because they need it in their business, right? Tyler needed a transaction management system in his business. You guys, your dad obviously went, hold on a second, I need to be able to capture leads online and run pay-per-click and do that stuff with AdWords as a business need. And then it turned into, wow, this could be a service for other people. And the demand for that can sometimes just take off. And like I was talking about with Tyler, it sounds to me like you guys realize this too, is you can only have your focus in so many directions, and you can't really run full steam ahead into the direction of software and running a real estate business because both of them require essentially full-time attention.
Yeah, if you're going to do a good job, at least.
Yeah, right. And there's no sense in doing something if you're just going to half-ass it. So that's cool. So was it 2009 or later when you officially kind of broke off and just put most of most, if not all, of your focus into the software side of things?
Yeah, so it was actually a little later than that. I'm trying to paint like an easy to understand picture, but back then I was working, basically in real estate and as a marketing consultant for my dad, and doing I had some other projects going on at the time. I was just a young guy. How old was I in 2010? I was 20 something, right? So anyway, doing all this different stuff, and it took a couple of years because you have a recurring subscription business like software business, and it still goes good for a little while even after people stop buying, and then that's when it starts to tank. And so it was a couple of years later that he finally decided, after the mortgage crisis, it was a couple of years after that he decided, look, I can't do both. At least I can't do both very well, and so I've got to make a decision. And so he brought me back in. I told him, look, if we're going to do this, we have to change the name of this and everything. So it's probably 2013, 14 when I officially took it over. And it was basically, I'm going to be honest with you, it was basically like starting from scratch again, right? So I had the germ of the idea, and it made sense. And we had some audience to work with because we had those people that had been with us before. But that was when the name changed to Guerilla Realty, and I took over. And so it's probably been 5-6 years since that time.
That's cool. So tell me about that. So you essentially start over. Well, I mean, what was that like? Like, what's the first thing you guys rolled out as your sort of new entity or new version of a software company?
Well, to be honest, the first couple of years were really tough. In fact, I was having to do some business consulting and stuff on the side. I didn't want to. I decided that I was out of real estate because, like we talked about before, real estate's too lucrative. It'll always be a temptation that stops you from doing the thing that you decide you really want to do. And I decided at the time. You mentioned before we got on this call, you mentioned Tim Ferriss, and one thing that he said that had a huge impact on me is he made all of his money, or most of his money, not from selling books, but from angel investing. And recently, maybe it was a couple years back, he decided to get out of angel investing, even though that's where he was making all his money. And it was because someone had given him some advice. I'm going to probably get it wrong, but it was something to the effect of, you should be doing whatever you're least replaceable at, right? And he said, well, as an angel investor, I literally am just like another checkbook like anybody else, right? And in specific instances where he worked as a consultant, maybe he was a little less replaceable. But most of the time he was just a checkbook, and he felt totally replaceable. And so it was lucrative, but he didn't really feel like he was making the impact that he should. And that's where I felt. So as an agent, or as a real estate broker, I feel that I'm very replaceable. Sure, I had some success and we did really well, but I feel that I'm a whole lot less replaceable running a software company. And as a strategist, and as more specifically, I feel a lot of fulfillment when we do teaching and training. And so that's where I feel I am the least replaceable. So anyway, long story short, I think to answer your question, you said, what was like the process like starting over? First 2 years sucked. So I decided I'm going to take these like side gigs just so I can pay my bills while we're trying to build this thing up. And the first couple of years were really tough. Basically, there was zilch revenue. We had a few sales from when we first started up, when we had, like I said, we had an audience from before, but it was small and it had been overworked, and we hadn't put anything out new, or hadn't put anything new out in a long time. And of course, after 2010, the industry changed a lot, right? With Zillow and a bunch of other software companies who were doing pretty good. And so first couple of years sucked, didn't really gain any traction until we decided what we're going to do to build our list and grow our audience is we're not going to like roll out new products that we can sell and then shout about them. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to start building free tools that will help agents grow their business. So free software, and all they have to do to use it is just put in their email address or create an account. And we're going to grow our list so we can tell them about our paid stuff, which is even better. But in the meantime, we're just going to give this stuff out and ask them to share the heck out of it. And so we built, one of the first tools we built was a tool called Free Photo Branding. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is take your listing photo that you have listed, like, even if you don't know this, everyone listening, all your photos that you put into the MLS, they eventually make their way to Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, et cetera, et cetera. And then they use those listing photos to attract eyeballs, and they ended up capturing leads that they sell to agents like Zillow Premier agents and whoever's paying the big bucks to be listed on those sites. And back then, this was rubbing a lot of agents the wrong way. Now everyone's pretty much accepted it, but back in 2015, 2016, this was rubbing a lot of agents the wrong way. And so we said, well, why don't we do something about it? Let's build a tool that will help you brand your photos so that your information's on the lead photo. Now you can't actually put it directly into the MLS. Most MLSs prohibit that sort of thing. But once it's on the other side, Realtor.com, Zillow, whatever, you can actually claim that listing and edit the photos to your heart's content. And so that was one of the first tools that we built. It got shared like something like 500 or 600 times, kind of had like a mini viral loop. Yeah. And captured a ton of email addresses. And then we got a brand new fresh audience of people that we said, look, this is a great way to capture a few leads a month, you know, by having your info branded on all your photos on Zillow and whatnot. But let us show you Pipeline Pro tools. This is the software that we still to this day use to run our own real estate operation. And then that's when we started growing. And now every year we try to put out 2 to 3 new free tools that will help agents grow their business. And that's kind of our model.
Nice. I like that. So tell me the names of a couple of your free tools that you currently have that you guys offer.
Yeah. So free photo branding was kind of like the first one. Since then, we put together something called RE call scripts, which think of it like a briefcase that's got call scripts from all of the industry experts that meet any situation, whether you're door knocking, you're calling FSBOs, you're calling expireds. Got names in there like, James Fistini, Boo Feeney, all the Eenies, Jason Morris, guys that really know what they're doing, that spend a lot of time on the phone, that have developed like rock solid scripts. We've got all their scripts in it. We've also got some scripts that we've put together as far as like how to follow up on online leads. Right now it's down for maintenance because we want to make it a whole lot better. So that's RE call scripts. We've also done RE calculators, also down for maintenance. Are they all down for maintenance? No. But RE calculators is like, it's got some business planning calculators. My favorite is the CMA calculator. So I firmly believe in my heart that the way that most agents do CMAs is totally bunk, and we teach a different way. It's also got like a days on market calculator. Most people will log into their MLS. They don't know this, but the days on market listed in your MLS is totally wrong, like not even close to wrong. And you actually get a much more accurate number if you use what's called the absorption method, which is what like big businesses and other industries use to figure out, how to pace inventory. Right. So we have a calculator that allows you to use absorption rate to calculate a really accurate days on market. So that's RE calculators. And then last year we put out something called Listing Cake, allows you to build cool listing videos in less than 60 seconds right from your iPhone. So you can go to a house, snap a couple of pictures, snap a couple of like 20-second clips, upload it, move it around, choose a great layout, put some background music to it, and download the final cut. That's Listing Cake. And then we took on a behemoth project the end of last year called Pipeline Database. It's a free CRM tool that's got a power dialer built in. So most power dialers cost $100, $200, $300 a month. This one's totally free. Just plug it into Twilio, which is like it's like wholesale cost. Like you can dial for a whole month and pay like $17.
Yeah.
It's also got in-app two-way texting. So if you've got your leads synced, you can actually text directly from the dashboard on your desktop, and you can get their text back. So you can call, you can text, and then we've got like a really nice visual pipeline that allows you to keep organized. And then my favorite feature is the pause feature, because we used to do this thing where we capture a bunch of leads every month. You already know that.
Right.
You've got a database of like 1,000 leads, right? Some mornings you wake up and you're like, all right, who was I supposed to call with, or who should I follow up with first, or what should I do? Like I've got 1,000 people I could call, but I'm never going to call 1,000 people today. So where should I be focusing my time? And so one of the things that we did to basically, I don't know the word for it, but to make sure that we're always following up with the right person at the right time is just a simple pause feature. So when we're done, a lot of CRMs will call this like setting the follow-up, right? The next time you're going to talk to them, we just call it pause. So we like to do, basically a 6x6. So we touch them once a week for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And so one of the ways that we do that is we have a 7-day pause button where you just one click, it'll pause it for 7 days. It'll pop up exactly 7 days from now into your CRM. And so now, instead of trying to like sift through the 1,000 or so leads and call all of them or wonder who we should be calling, instead we log in and you have a focus queue. It's basically like, these are the people that require a follow-up today. And sometimes it's a text, sometimes it's a call, whatever. As soon as you're done with them, you press the pause button, and you could pause them for an hour, a day, 7 days, a month, a year, whatever, but they'll always pop pop back up into focus at the right time. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So that's Pipeline Database. You can get it for free at pipelinedatabase.com. And that's the last tool that we built. And maybe we'll get to talk about the next tool that we're building here soon. But
Yeah, man, feel free to shoot me, hit me with the, shoot me, don't shoot me. Hit me with the info, man. We've got a couple minutes coming up on the end of our time together. So I want to make sure we have a chance to talk about that. And then I've got a few other questions I want to ask you. So feel free to hit us with what's now, like what's coming around the corner for you guys.
Yeah. So Q1 2020, I don't know when this will actually be published, but Q1 2020, hope to release it sometime next month in January. It's called Fizz Bonanza. So you can go to fizzbonanza.com right now. It won't show anything, but maybe by the time this is released, maybe there'll be something there. And the idea is we're going to let you download for sale by owner data for free, right? So I know there's a bunch of companies out there that currently charge for that data. We've found a backdoor to get that data for free, basically for any market. Now, sometimes it'll be complete with a phone number, address, everything you need, maybe even a name. Sometimes it'll be less complete, and so we're going to integrate with. Well, I'm not going to share the company. We're going to integrate with one of these big data companies that will allow you to complete the data for just a few bucks. So just a one click, hey, I want to complete this data, spend a few bucks. And then you can actually sync this tool. It's called Fizz Bonanza. Just a play on the Fizzbo term.
Love it.
But anyway, Fizz Bonanza, you're going to be able to sync it with any CRM you want. So it doesn't matter whether you use Brivity or you guys have been talking about Brivity recently. Brivity, Lion Desk, Realty Juggler, it does not, or if you use our own pipelinedatabase.com, right? So you can sync it with any CRM you want. One click, it'll port all the leads over, and then you can follow up however you see fit. And we actually teach a really cool Fizzbo strategy. So
nice. Well, that's cool, dude. You guys got a lot of cool stuff going on. And more importantly, you're a cool guy, man. I like the conversations that we've had and stuff over the year. And we're coming up on just a couple minutes left. I want to ask you a couple of questions. I stole these actually. We mentioned Tim Ferriss earlier, and it's funny you shared that story. I specifically remember him talking about that with his unique ability there. So I stole some questions from him recently. I started asking him to a few other guests, so you're kind of a guinea pig for me. So
sure.
last three questions I have for you, Chris, are, and in no particular order, what's the thing you're most excited about right now? Something you're really excited about. Give me something you've changed your mind on in the last couple of years, and then something maybe weird about you. So it could be a habit, could just be a hobby, something that is a little bit weird that most people don't know about. And we can start with any of those.
Okay, cool. So let's do what I'm most excited about right now. Not to beat a dead horse, but I'm most excited about Fizz Bonanza. Really psyched about this. It's something that's been in the pipeline, something we thought we could do, but we had to figure some things out. And then last summer we ran some tests and we figured out, okay, we can do it. And then now we're actually in the final building stages of making it happen. And I'm very stoked about it. And I think that it's going to help a lot of people out too.
That's awesome.
I think we'll have huge success rates from it. So I'm super excited about Fizz Bonanza. Look for that sometime in 2020. If you're not on our list, I'm sure you'll share a link, but like GuerrillaRealty.com, there's all kinds of ways to subscribe to our email list, and we'll let you know about it.
For sure. Awesome. So that's what you're most excited about. Something you've changed your mind on, or something that's maybe a little weird about you?
Something that I've changed my mind about in the last year is that you should do things that do not scale. And I'll qualify that or explain what I mean by that. So I used to be, obviously I'm a software guy, right? Software nerd. I love automation. And I used to think, oh, the best way to run your business, and of course we're talking about Tim Ferriss, like the original book that launched 1,000 businesses for me, right, was the 4-Hour Workweek, right? And so the dream is that we're all sitting in a hammock sipping Mai Tais somewhere, and your business is running itself, right? So you've got software that's doing all this stuff on autopilot. I still believe strongly in leveraging technology to do stuff for you so that you can build a business, something that's bigger than just yourself. Okay. So I'm still a huge believer in technology, but I found myself about a year and a half ago going probably too far in that direction where I kind of taken the human element out of my business. And one of my mentors, a guy named Brian Harris, really cool guy. You should actually have him on the podcast. He's not real estate specific, super smart. I think he can share a lot of things that help a lot of realtors. But anyway, Brian Harris told me, do things that don't scale. And so at the time, one of them was when you're trying to sign a client, right? Or you're trying to strike a deal with a huge partner, right? Don't send out. So at the time I was doing a lot of like cold email outreach and form letters. And you familiar with Seth Godin?
Yeah, of course.
So one of the people that was on my like lead sheets is I would basically have this virtual assistant who was going out and creating lead spreadsheets for me. And then I would drop them into one of these cold email programs that would just basically plug all of their data into, like using mail merge, plug them into a form email that I'd written that I thought was super clever, and it would send them all out. And I knew that some people it was going to strike them wrong, but then some people it'd strike them right, and I'd do a deal with them. And the cool thing is that I could be sipping Mai Tai somewhere where all of it was taking place without me. And it hit me. Seth Godin actually replied to one of these emails, and he said, "How many people did you send this exact same letter to?" And I was like, "Oh, that hurts." And I ended up having a couple email conversation with Seth Godin, which the only time I've ever met Seth Godin, he's scolding me, right? But rather than like pounding my fist on the table and insisting on doing things exactly the way I was doing it, I decided, like, let's be mature about this and let's use it as an opportunity to grow. And so, again, back to Brian Harris, he said, do things that don't scale. So instead, when I'm approaching partners now, rather than sending them some lame form letter, right, that I'm sending to a million other people so I can send them at, 150 at once, I craft one email, right? I think it's how we connected, actually. I craft one email where I go and I do a ton of really deep research on that one person. And I try to get to know them even before I have the opportunity to really get to know them.
Yeah.
Like now I feel like we actually do know each other. Even before then, I try to really get to know them, and I try to figure out what would be a huge win for them, right? And then I send them an email where I hit them with that. So this actually applies to real estate too. Like when you're trying to land a big client, whether it's a building or builder or whoever, trying to land a big deal, don't treat them like everybody else. Go deep, figure out get to know them even before you get a chance to know them. And whether it's an email or a phone call or whatever, try to figure out what would be a massive win for them. Don't even think about how it's going to be a win for you, right? Figure out what would be a massive win for them and try to go out and create that thing, right? Go even take the first step. So do the first thing that would help them get a win. I'm being kind of vague, but I just don't have a really crunchy explanation. And then go out and do it, and they'll say yes after the fact. It works every single time. And so something I changed my mind on, I used to think, oh, let's scale. Let's leverage technology to the hilt. And now I try to follow the model of let's do things that don't scale. Let's be super personal. Let's really focus on getting our people a win and not just focusing on ourselves. And that's something that has allowed us to grow exponentially over the last year.
That's awesome, man. I love that. All right. Last question. Something weird about you, something that maybe most people don't know.
Something that's weird about me.
Habit,
it's a
hobby.
tough one. Yeah. So here's one that's really weird about me. I write affirmations.
Okay. So you write them out?
So I write them out. So really, let's make it really crunchy. There's a zillion different ways you could do affirmations. Take whatever your number one goal is. If you're listening to this right now, take whatever your number one goal is, write it in a sentence form where it's like, I, Chris Jones, will meet Kevin Kaufman in person in the year 2020. So be super specific. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the goal is, whatever your number one goal is, it doesn't matter whether it's business or personal or whatever, write it down 15 times on a piece of paper. It would probably work if you did it on, typing or whatever. I find that taking the time to actually write it out, really cements it in your brain. I wrote a cool article I'll share with you a while back about why I write affirmations. But anyway, write it down 15 times. Do it every single day for 3 months. Guarantee that you will accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
I don't care how weird or bizarre or wacky or out there or whatever. I have some truly bizarre stories to tell you. And I think there's really some science that backs up writing affirmations. It's not just like a kooky, new age, whatever. I think there's some pretty solid science behind why it works. But take whatever your number one goal is, write it down 15 times a day. Do it every single day for 3 months. Guarantee that you'll accomplish your goal.
Yeah, man. I'd have to tend to agree with you on that. That's awesome. Dude, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, likewise. Appreciate you having me.
Awesome. All right, guys. Chris Jones. And by the way, what's the best way for people to reach you? Is the website GuerrillaRealty.com, or should it be somewhere on social? What's best for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I'm not big on Twitter, Instagram, anything like that. I do Facebook just so I can stay in touch with people like you and in your group. But you can email me at chris@GuerrillaRealty.com. Always happy to have conversations with people. And I assume we'll publish like a link along with
For
this
sure.
or whatever. That'd be cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, dude, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time today, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah, likewise.